Preparing to live stream. So we should be live, hopefully. Yeah, well, welcome to What Makes a Difference.
Welcome indeed.
Yeah, and so we thought we'd give a brief, like a little overview of the workshop we're running in Bristol.
Hmm.
And so part of that is about kind of patterns of behaviors and habits.
Well, what we thought was that a lot of people struggle with relationships in a workplace setting, in their home life, in their friendships. And what we hear a lot is people asking or saying to one or other of us, if I only knew the code, it's like there's a secret code for this stuff and I don't understand it. If I could get a different outcome, a different solution, then things would be so much better because we repeat things.
Yeah. It's those learned patterns of behavior, isn't it? And
Yeah,
they become habits.
they do. And that means that because we're pre-programmed to set up patterns, because it makes life simple for us, and we're about to get an extra attendee on this call.
Yeah. Get what?
An
Oh,
extra attendee in this call.
okay. Leon's joining us.
So the extra member of the team might join us any second now. Um,
Yeah, so it's about those known things, isn't it, that we do? And then there's the unknown things. So it's those subconscious routines that we keep doing.
yes, and there's the extra member of the team.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it's the unknowns, isn't
It
it?
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the
And,
thing is,
and
it's
that's kind of, sorry, Ali, it's those unintended consequences that may come from those unknown things because people just do it out of that routine and habit.
well, often those unknowns are the things that, as you say, are habits. We have learned responses that, in a way, make things so much simpler for us, but they don't always continue to apply all the way through our lives.
No. As you say, it's that shortcut, isn't it, to do the thing that we're pretending to do, or
Yes.
to get that. There's people talking about a lot is that dopamine fix of, oh, I've done this now, and yeah,
Yeah, we automate our processes just as we automate our responses. And you and I have talked often about how sometimes conversations play out time and time again. We get the same outcome. It might be a conversation we have with a work colleague, with a family member, with a partner, with a friend. And it just seems like we repeat the same conversation, but we never get a different outcome.
yeah.
And that's because we're all playing to the same script. We're anticipating things.
Mhm.
We're responding to the anticipation, not what's actually happening.
Yeah, so one of the things that we talk about, and it's come from the world of self-defense and conflict management, is the OODA loop. So you've got
Mhm.
the observe, the orientate, the deciding, and the acting. And depends where we are in that cycle, depends on what happens. So if we can observe our actions, thoughts, behaviors before anything happens, we can make better decisions. And we can orientate ourselves to those better decisions. Unless we catch ourselves in like the acting, that gives us limited choices, limited capacity.
Yeah, and it's about helping everyone understand what they need to look out for, how to spot those patterns so they can change the outcomes, and giving them different structures to help get
Yeah.
those outcomes. Because it's all very well once you spot them, but then what do you do?
Mhm.
What do you do apart from repeat the same old? It's just you recognize you're repeating it. Well, what we want to do is take you to step beyond that.
Yeah. It's that, as you mentioned earlier, it's that code, isn't it? That relationship code. It's not only how you're operating, but it's how other people operate as well. So obviously relationships are two-way dynamic.
Mm,
And so those other persons you're interacting with have their own code of how they react, their own habits, their own patterns, their own behaviors.
yeah. And I think it's important to recognize that within that, what we're not going to teach you to do is read minds, although a lot of us, me included, sometimes think we already do. But what we are going to do, apart from fight off the third member of the team, is Best laid plans of mice and men. What we are going to do is give you some different ways of approaching this that help to achieve that change. So we're not only going to help you spot what needs to change, we're going to give you some pathways and routes to put into action to help achieve that change.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's a case of somebody's in a relationship with someone, and so you got person A, person B. Person A is doing this particular habit, and person B, or this particular behavior, person B says, this is something you need to look at and something to examine, or to have that conversation with somebody else. But because it comes from person B and they're very close to person A, they're not understanding what's being said or being asked of them. It's kind of like, what's going on here? So then it's that stepping out, or you have that third party observer saying the same thing, but in a slightly different context. And sometimes it dawns on that person going, A, saying, oh, I understand what you're saying now. And they can get that context around why that's important.
Well, it comes back to that when you're right in the middle of it, you rarely see the rest of what's going on. What we're giving you is the space to explore the rest of what's going on.
Yeah.
So exactly as you're saying, is giving you that pressure off, which is something we explore in the course, and the capacity to apply that so that you can invite somebody else into a different conversation, a different relationship with you.
Yeah. Because in some relationships, there's that transaction expectation, isn't there? So we're kind of having a play around with this yesterday. And I said you know, I might buy Theon like 2 years worth of cat food. My expectation for Ali is, because I've done that, you've got to buy me a round world ticket to wherever. And it doesn't quite meet the context, or the expectation is that's far too excessive for that kind of thing.
Must be done, but expensive
Or,
cat food, Rich.
or yeah, or should that thing be done at all? Why should Ali go out of the way to buy me a ticket when I haven't even said that? I've gone and bought the cat food. And so we build up these expectations in our
Or
mind.
you might unexpectedly think you're doing a nice thing for me, and actually the response you get from me instead is resentment because I'm assuming that you think I don't know how to feed Theon.
Yes. And you probably have nowhere to put 2 years worth of cat food.
Years worth of cat food, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of expectations people build up in their minds as to what the expected outcome from an event is.
Mm. Yeah, if you look at our experiences of life, our relationships are central to it all. In a lot of ways, our relationships and the quality of them determine the quality of our experience. If our relationships are working well, then that means that potentially we do better in work. We're in a more supported environment. We're more engaged. It means that we get better outcomes. We maybe get promoted more. We get noticed more, acknowledged more, thanked more. We are happier. If we
Yeah.
have better relationships in our friendships, the same applies. Better relationships in our intimate relationships, same applies. We get better outcomes and life is better. So,
On the 30th of March, we're hosting in the Novotel in Bristol.
mhm.
So yeah, please do come along.
And if you would like a bit of a reboot for your relationships and your understanding to shift quite significantly in terms of what's going on so that you can get a different outcome and start to make changes to those for your better and for those around you, then jump on the link, book your ticket, and come along and join us for the day.
Yeah, you can find that via Eventbrite and or our webpage.
So, who is this particularly useful for, Rich?
People are frustrated in their relationships, whether that is work or at home, and to be able to communicate better, get better understanding. So it's a case of either, is this dynamic working out for me, or do I leave?
Mhm. maybe people who are struggling to maintain or build relationships in a work or social setting.
Yes. So this will help people ask better questions, get better information, because it's that known and unknowns, isn't it?
Understand the context of the conversation.
So I'll give you an example of a known and unknown is somebody I know pretty well. They were asked to deliver a presentation in their workplace, and they turned around to me and said, "This presentation isn't particularly good." And I asked, "Did you ask for more information? What else was it about this information or this presentation rather that wasn't particularly good?" He said, "Well, the manager, whoever, came in and said, you need to change this and this." I said, "Yes, but for what you put in there, that was good, wasn't it?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's the unknown was you had more information delivered to you and given to you that maybe the manager previously hadn't had. So then that enhanced that presentation that you could deliver, make those subtle changes."
So what we'll give you is a structure to help limit all of those unknowns so that your presentations, your conversations, your emails, your texts, your discussions, even how you solve challenges get better.
Yeah.
So have a think about it. Come along. Have a quick review of all the areas of your life. You think, actually, if those conversations got me better outcomes, if those relationships got me better outcomes, what would the difference be to my life?
Yeah. What makes a difference in that relationship?
What makes the difference?
Pun intended.
Come along on the 30th and find out.
Yeah. We look
Look
forward to
forward.
seeing you there.
Yeah, we do indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.